It just really just needs to be just evened up. Just slick it up. It really doesn't need a lot. There's a hump here and a little hump there, but they're very small. These screws should be identical. I mean, they should be. They mass produce these things. So I'm not really worried about keeping the top and the bottom exactly in the top and bottom. The tendency when you're doing this is to round off that edge and that edge. That's the tendency. That's just human nature, to go too far and then roll it over. So you gotta, when you're sanding, you're using sandpaper as a shaping tool, you gotta intentionally avoid these two ends. And you can even carry it so far that you round off this edge and this edge, but that's the reason the straight block. You can look at your saw marks, your bandsaw marks, and when they start disappearing, you know where you're taking the wood off, because those marks get less and less. I'm staying away from my edges. I'm staying about a 1/4 inch inside the edge. I'm just relieving the middle of it where that hump was. When I draw those screws down, I want it to touch that edge real hard. I don't want it to be touching anything in the middle. It's hard to even measure. I mean, light will go through a crack Brazilianth of an inch thick, and it's very faint, just a little bitty touch of light coming through there. The Bible says we're supposed to be salt and light to a world that's in darkness. This goes to show you how powerful light is. It doesn't take much light to shine through a lot of darkness. Now I've got to even up these edges. I got a little bit too much wood here and here, a little too much plastic here and here. It's very close, but I just gotta start over with my sanding process, because I had to add this thing too late in the game. Normally I would be sanding all of this at the same time with the pad on, but this one worked out differently. There's actually still a teeny gap right there. I'm gonna have to take that off and sand a little bit more off of this. Yeah, I'm not quite done here. I thought I was, but I'm not. Like my grandfather says, you only get one chance to do it right the first time. Thankfully for me, this is still the first time. You don't know how bad I hate to do this after this thing is absolutely finished, sanded, and ready to go, to set in on it with a file and a plane and everything else. But what must be done, must be done. That's the worst part of it. Now I can just sand that off. One side. See, that wasn't bad. A couple hours. If you want this edge where I sanded this, if you want to get that shiny, you take this off and you rub that with 600 paper, and you can actually buff that type of plastic. I don't know what it is. High density something plastic, and you can buff it very lightly on a buffing wheel, like a grinder. This one of those cloth wheels, put a little compound on it. You can make that thing shiny, even shinier than this, which is a kind of a matte finish. But I like to leave them and then just wax that. This is 320. I've taken it down to 320 paper, and you can, after you get your stock finished, taking this off, then when you put this back on after everything's done, I put a coat of wax on it, and that wax makes that little 320 grit edge look a lot like that. That's my favorite way of doing it. So now this is ready to come back off. I'll put my adapter lug in there, and then I can start the finishing like so, and then I can hold on to it while I do my finishing.